Hello everyone, my name is Jonathan Borja and we'll be going over chapter 9 from our book, specifically 9.1, Love's Beginning, Development, and Ending. Alright, so we have some key definitions. First one is hypomania. You can think of hypomania as increased energy levels, activity levels, mood and behavior changes. And usually this is noticed by friends and peers. But for Article 1, they kind of shed a negative connotation light onto hypomania, and they call it dark-sided hypomania. And basically, people that are in love or in long-term relationships tend to have increased anxiety and increased depression. And then for our next key definition, we'll have infatuation. Infatuation is just passion, involves no intimacy and no commitment. In our book, if you go through chapter 9, you'll see The Theory of Love by Robert Sternberg. And the end-all love is consummate love, which includes all three: passion, intimacy, and commitment. And although that's possible to have, it's usually a fleeting thing and can be extinguished over time. And then our third definition is cohabitation. And basically that's living with a romantic partner outside of marriage. So you can think of single parents who end up finding a new spouse to live with them prior to getting married again. Alright guys, so now we have our overview. And it's pretty simple and straightforward. We have Article 1 that we're going to talk about next, and we'll try to relate it to Chapter 9. And the same thing with Article 2, we'll try to tie it in the best we can to Chapter 9. And then finally we have a third article that will also be tied into Chapter 9. So let's go. Okay, so Article 1 is called I Love You Forever, more or less, Stability and Changes in Adolescents' Romantic Love Statuses and Associations with Mood States. So this article basically took 201 participants who are Iranian, and they want to see with their romantic partner over the course of 8 months if they maintain their love, if they fell out of love, and if they just never fell in love to begin with. And that's pretty reflective of our book, that a lot of adolescent couples usually start off pretty strong and heavy during their infatuation stage, and they kind of dwindle out and fade out as their perspective of each other changes, or even friend input might change the relationship, and usually they just don't last as long. Okay, so we have Article 2, and the title is Name Calling, Jealousy, and Breakups, Teen Girls and Boys' Worst Experience of Digital Dating. So what this article really was getting at was that when a teen or adolescent couple breaks up, it's really amplified in the digital world. You know, through Instagram posts and Facebook posts, everything's just so transparent. And usually it's the guy who has an issue letting go. The only problem is the letting go part takes forever to go away. It's really amplified because he has easy access to, the girl's life via Facebook or Instagram. And oftentimes they can even harass their female counterparts by shitposting about them, by stalking them, by cyberbullying them, by making fake accounts and just trying to stay in touch. And this just really prolongs things. And unfortunately, in that digital world, rather than reach out to adults, a lot of adolescents reach out to peers and friends for solutions. And that's where some of like the parallels in the book come from. So in the book, it doesn't really dive into the digital world so much, but it does dive into breakups. And that when they're looking for reassurance, a lot of people turn to their peers on what to do. And unfortunately, the other parallel is harassment. A lot of guys in our book would still stalk the female, they would still harass her physically and mentally. And really, the only solution that females had in the end, unfortunately, was just time and space. You know, you can have people talk to the person, you can put restraining orders, but if the male partner just does not want to let go, unfortunately, the book made it sound like you really just have to wait it out until they move on. And in the article, that time frame of moving on is just amplified further, and it takes longer because of the digital world we live in and just easy access to information and people. Okay, so we have Article 3, Cohabitation and Child Well-Being. So this article does kind of have parallels with our book as far as cohabitation goes. It does dive a little deeper into the child's well-being. And basically when it comes down to it, cohabitation isn't really something that is ideal for most successful relationships, especially with children involved. People who are in relationships where they just move in together before marriage are more susceptible for breakups, and that just has detrimental effects on the children involved. And now in our book, it talks about a lot of Western cultures and how now people want to move in with each other before marriage. And although that seems ideal, so you can learn everyone's nuances and little quirks to later, strengthen your marriage, it actually serves the opposite purpose. When everyone lives together, they start to build their own habits. They start to get used to the way things are. So once you get married and kick it up a notch and take it to a more serious level and become more interdependent on each other, it usually ends up causing strife in the relationship. So when you guys are living together prior to being married, you would have your own bank accounts, your own time, your own friends, and then once you get married, a lot of those things combine, and that's one way to cause a lot of friction inside of a relationship, and it causes a lot of people to fall out of love. Okay, I just want to thank you guys all for listening to my presentation, and here is my reference page.